Hey everybody, John Henning here from the Woodworking Podcast. I wanted to share with you today some information that might help you grow your woodworking business. So I always talk with folks about this topic specifically, like this is one of the big ones, and it's always with starting with the end in mind, right? Like, so we hear people talk about having goals, knowing what you want to do, how big do you want to grow, how much money do you want to make, all of that type of stuff. But I want to kind of simplify that. Are you looking to grow a woodworking business that you can retire with? Are you looking to replace a significant six-figure income? Are you looking to make a little money on the side and buy some tools? Make a little money on the side and buy some flowers for the spouse or something like that, go on vacation. So I find that when you sit down and identify what your goal is, what your real end in mind is, you'll be able to gear your business in the right direction, right? Like, for example, let's say you're looking to make some money to buy some tools. Well, you wouldn't necessarily go out and spend $30,000 on tools and then build items and try and sell them to pay yourself back, right? That probably wouldn't make any sense. Take out a second mortgage to buy a, $20,000 set of tools, right? That just wouldn't make any sense. So what you would do in that scenario maybe is find some smalls that sell, right? There's tons of options for that on YouTube. You can go on there and look at, Peach and Voss and those guys, and they talk a lot about smalls that sell, and I'm a huge proponent of that. It's really where I got my start in making actual, significant profit in woodworking and building that customer base. But my point is, find some smalls, right? It's fairly low investment to do them. Most likely, you probably already have the tools you need to build most of that stuff. And look, you don't need fancy tools to build a lot of smalls. Handsaw, corded drill if you need to, right? A drill bit, some screws, some glue, some finish nails, things like that. Like we see all of the YouTubers, with all these big, huge workshops that are clean and clinically clean workshops that are, making millions of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars selling big, huge items. I think sometimes we think, oh, that's what woodworking is, and in reality, it's what you make it, right? And so start with smalls. If your goal is to buy some extra tools and upgrade, I am a big proponent of Harbor Freight. No, they're not the highest quality. You'll see a lot of controversy in the woodworking groups on Facebook about, tool quality, and you can only build this quality furniture with these quality tools. I'm here to tell you that is not true. I have built some really nice furniture. I've sold hundreds of tables in the $200 to $250 range using a skill chop saw that is literally 15 years old with the original blade on it. I had a cordless drill. What was it? The Black & Decker cordless drill, right? Not an impact, just a drill. I had a small set of drill bits. I had one or two Phillips head, bits. And that was about it. I went and bought some glue, started making some small items, and was able to get to a point where I've got some nicer tools that are higher quality now. Well, higher quality in the sense that I didn't have them before. Okay, I bought my my miter saw at Home Depot for $300. It's a compound miter saw. I've got DeWalt cordless drills now and an impact as well. They do make a big difference. I still have my original skill table saw. I don't know why. Maybe it's a sentimental thing, but that $100 12-year-old skill table saw has served me well, and it just works great. So, I'm going to stick with what's working. And my shop's not clinically clean, right? I've got to move scrap wood around and sawdust, vacuum up sawdust, probably like most of you do on a regular basis, just like everybody else. And my point is, the Harbor Freight quality tools are great compared to what you may have today to start with, right? So think about upgrading in stages. It doesn't have to be something where you save up and go buy a $2,000 tool, right? But still not be able to do some other things. So, basics, right? If that's your goal. Remember, the whole conversation here is about figure out what your goal is with your woodworking business. Now, you want to replace a six-figure income? Completely different conversation, right? That's going to require a bit of an investment in most cases, right? You got to have the equipment to be able to produce at a different scale and different level, okay? Size of workshop's going to factor in. One of the things I run into regularly, consistently, is the smaller size of my workshop. I work out of a 14 by 17 shed that I've converted to my workshop. And, moving things around, I really can't have more than one or maybe two builds going at one time. Excuse me. So for my customers, I've got to time things out for them to be able to pick up their items or for me to drop them off. So, size of shop's going to factor in, the equipment's going to factor in how much time you have. It's interesting when you leave that corporate job and work from home, all of a sudden you're busier. You've got all these other things to do, right? And it's not woodworking. The spouse got a honey-do list. Brother needs to move something. You've got to go pick up the grandkids and drop them off somewhere, which are all things that we do. But when you're working from home, it seems like you do a lot more of that, which can be good. But again, you're looking to replace that six-figure income, do the numbers, right? Run your numbers. If you listen to any of my podcasts, you'll know that I'm a huge proponent of the numbers. Know your numbers. For example, if you are looking to replace, let's use $100,000 as a quick, easy math. If you need to bring home $100,000, or at your corporate job you were earning $100,000 minus taxes, right? Do you need to bring home $100,000 a year to pay the bills, or was it $100,000 minus taxes? That's a big difference. So know the difference in those two things of working for yourself and working for someone else. For example, just as rough, very, very rough math, I'm not an accountant or anything like that, but I would suggest that $100,000 W-2 income probably equals $75,000 or less in take-home income. Okay, so let's use $75,000. If I need to bring home $75,000 and I'm selling $500 items, do the math on that. How much is my profit per item? And how many of those items do I need to sell per year to earn that $75,000, right? So the math in and of itself is actually fairly simple, right? Don't get too granular. Keep it at a high level. Just jot it down. If you're an Excel person, put it into Excel. You can use the formulas, use the phone calculator. Just figure it out real quick and just see, is it realistic if I need to sell 3,000 items a year to hit my number, is that realistic? Okay. Chances are it's not that many items, but if you look at a $1,000 item, and I need to sell 1,000 of them, 100 of them. If it's a $1,000 item, I need to sell 100 of them to do $100,000 minus taxes, gets me to that 75. Again, your financial situation may be different. I'm just using an example here, but when you look at it that way, if I'm selling $1,000 items and I need to sell 100 of them to get $100,000 a year, is that unrealistic? I don't know, right? For you, are you good at marketing? Are you good at sales? Right? Is your closing rate higher than others? You'll see a lot of folks say, oh, that doesn't sell in my area. It's typically because of marketing and sales ability that it's not selling, but there are some markets like where there are no people that stuff doesn't sell. Listen to my podcast on how to sell more in your market, and you'll see what I mean when it comes to that, right? Oftentimes it's not the market that impacts the sales. But anyway, back to my original $100,000, 75 grand take home, sell 100 items at $1,000 a piece, etc. If you're selling $100 items, that means you've got to sell 1,000 of them a year, right? Just flip the math. So if I'm selling a table that's $100 and you sell 1,000 of them a year, that's like 3.2 per day, 3 a day. Okay. Is that realistic? Can you sell three $100 items per day? I don't know, right? So, as of the recording of this podcast, I think I'll probably end up 12 months looking back and knowing where I'm going to finish this year, probably end up doing about 70,000 in revenue at about 50,000 in profit, right? So that's kind of where I'm at. I'm not selling $30,000 epoxy tables and doing custom fine furniture and that type of stuff. I'm selling 100, 200, 300, $400 items, and I'll do probably, I think it's going to come in right around 70,000, maybe 75,000, $55,000 profit. So good, good amount of money. I put a few hours in a day. I really enjoy it, and I love making the items that I do make. And everyone's got their own niche too, right? Don't get locked in of thinking you have to build what everybody else is building. You be you, right? Build what you like if the customers want to buy it. Okay, and do some market testing, right? Figure out if your customers even want to buy what you're making before you go making 30 of them, right? You want to buy a new house, you want to go on vacation, you want to buy some tools, buy a new truck, whatever it is that you want to do. You want to start another business and use woodworking to fund it, right? Those things are all possible, but if you don't know what that real true goal is, you don't really have a target to aim for. You won't be able to run the numbers. You won't be able to look at it from a business standpoint. It'll be a hobby. And hey, look, hobbies are great, right? Hobbies typically cost you money. Businesses, typically you want them to make you money. That's the way I differentiate it. So I'm not saying you can't make money as a hobbyist. You can, but it's just a different way of looking at it, a different way of running through the whole scenario. And I said, hey, I want to make an extra 50 grand a year in profit. What do I need to do to get to that point? And I outlined it. I had a plan, came up with a plan for that. Figured out how many items do I need to sell. And I typically sell items, like I said, between $100 and $500. I do, I do tables, entryway tables. Sell a lot of entryway tables. I do coffee tables. I do a lot of planters in the spring through the early summer. I do some holiday stuff in the winter. And then I do mailboxes, mailbox stands, pretty much anytime I can dig a hole in the ground. And so kind of differentiate yourself, right? I don't have just one thing that I build, right? Because some things are a little more seasonal than others. So have a little bit of a variety and build that customer list. Listen to my podcast on building your customer list. I'm telling you, your list is where it's at. Your list is almost your business, right? If you have that list built, and how do you build that list can really factor in to reaching those goals. So anyway, long story short, know where you want to go, know where you want to get to. What does that number look like? Set a realistic goal. Do the math, know your numbers, factor in your cost of goods, materials, those types of things. So many folks will ask me, how do I know how to price this? Only you know what your time is worth. There are some items that I can make fairly quickly, and I make more margin on them. Other items take a little longer, and I've got to raise the price a little higher. For me, I have my formula that I use because I know what my time is worth. Only you know what your time is worth. Listen to my podcast about how to price your items, and you'll see what I mean. There is no standard formula. You'll see everybody say, oh, it's 3 times your materials plus 10%, and I'm telling you, there's no formula for that, because only you know what your time is worth. And because of that, you may be feel like, hey, this is a hobby. I'm going to make $10 an hour. That's great if that's what you want to do. Other folks need to make $80 an hour. Well, that formula doesn't work at 3 times cost of materials, right? So anyway, listen to that podcast if you want to hear more on how to price your items and how to target a specific group of customers, right? That's where pricing factors into that. So anyway, thanks for listening in to the Woodworking Podcast. My name's John Henning. Feel free to send me an email or message me at any time. Would love to chat with you. My email is john@woodworkingpodcast.com. John at woodworkingpodcast.com. Happy to share information with you. Love to collaborate, best practices, all that type of stuff. And feel free to send me pics of stuff that you've built as well. Would love to see some things. Don't be shy. Don't be embarrassed. Just send me some pics. We'll compare notes and see if we can help you make some money in woodworking. Thank you so much and have a great day.